We're talking about movies with big old spiders in them. And here are 5 of my favorites. There's actually kind of an interesting history when it comes to spiders in movies, and more specifically, really big spiders or giant spiders, kind of freakishly large. If you would like to hear a little bit more about that, you can click the link here. Here's the thing I wrote about a while ago. But just to sum it up, these movies with huge spiders really ramped up in like the late 80s through the 90s and into the early 2000s. Specifically, the movie Arachnophobia was sort of a big turning point, and I think in a sort of indirect way, it gave other filmmakers and studios a kind of license, or, it was proof that people were interested in this subject, and so things got a little bit crazy from there. Definitely less tame when it came to the giant spiders. So the first movie in our list is Tarantula from 1955. So this is one of those sort of, I say classic, quotation mark, classic 1950s horror movies where they're not that interesting. The pacing is pretty slow, and for the most part, a lot of them were very low budget, which meant that they were going to use their special effects as little as possible. They have a couple sets, and they're going to have characters talking to each other in rooms for a very long time. I still enjoy this one a whole lot, and I mean, you can see it in the trailer here, but that's kind of the money shot, is this big tarantula crawling over the mountains, and oh no, it's gonna, bust up this little town. And I won't ruin any of the story for you, but don't expect too much. I just think it's really interesting in terms of being one of the first big movies to feature a giant spider in the first place. Kind of neat to look back on this one. If you're into 50s horror movies and B movies and things like that, then it's definitely worth a shot. The second one is pretty obvious, I think, for most people, and we all know that in Return of the King, which is the third entry there, we get to meet Shelob, who is a giant spider, and she has, don't worry, if you read a lot of Tolkien, you know that she has a whole bunch of lore just to herself. I know they kind of teased her in the run-up to that movie. I guess I remember I was probably like 12 or something at the time, around there. But I do remember it was one of those things where, like, if you're like a slightly geeky person, if you knew Lord of the Rings really well, then you knew that Shelob shows up in Return of the King. And so everybody was kind of anticipating it, especially as kids. Like, we weren't as interested in the deep character work, and we weren't all that concerned with, like, seeing, where's Aragorn gonna go? He's a king or something? He's gonna do king stuff? It's like, no, I want to see a big spider. I want to see ghosts. It's gonna be so cool. They're gonna hit guys with swords. It was awesome. Finally got around to the Shelob scene. I think that was the only Lord of the Rings movie I actually did see in the theater on opening weekend, and oh man, I loved that scene so much. They did such a great job of setting the atmosphere for Shelob's lair, and the lighting is so spooky, and not that it's especially hard to make like a giant spider den creepy, but they did a great job with production design. It looks great. All the webs, and even like there's this little sheen to the webs, like when you see Frodo wrapped up and he's a little rag doll and they throw him around and stuff. Like, it looks, just like sticky enough, and it's wonderful. Shelob herself is kind of a neat character. She doesn't speak, of course, but she has a real presence. I don't know, that sounds kind of silly to say, but I think they pulled it off really well, and remains one of my favorite giant spider movies of all time. Next one up is right around the same time. Actually, this is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which was released 1 year before Lord of the Rings. If you're familiar with both of those franchises, by the way, you might know that they do have, like, there was a bit of a rivalry there in a certain way, especially with, like, their little things where I think Dobby beat them to the punch as being, like, one of the first fully CG characters in a live-action movie ever. There's some kind of record around that, and it was right before Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers was released, which of course had Gollum. This one also includes a big old spider called Aragog. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. I have not watched this movie a lot because it's not one of my favorite Harry Potter movies, but goodness me, the scene with Aragog, former pet spider of Hagrid, is just fantastic. Everybody knew you were waiting for that scene. I don't know. Do we like the spider talks in this one? I'm going to say it's okay, but at the same time, it feels awkward. I think it needed to happen just for this, the story. We need the spider to be an actual character and to have speaking lines and to communicate certain things to Harry and Ron. But at the same time, it does feel strange, especially because it's, a very dignified, older British voice. It does seem strange coming from a spider. Do the other little spiders also have voices? Is this going to be addressed in one of the subsequent Fantastic Beasts movies? I think it's pretty important, and I would love to catch up with Aragog sometime soon. And yeah, one of my favorites, one of my favorite big spiders. The next movie is Eight-Legged Freak. No one remembers this one. No one talks about it. And it's not even that good. But at the same time, great giant spiders and really fast. Oh, I love how fast they are. It's very threatening. It's worth it, especially if you're into kind of schlocky horror movies that aren't meant to impress you. If you're looking to laugh and also kind of, marvel at the very dated CG work on that movie, it is worth a shot. So for this last giant spider movie that I wanted to talk about today, I might, I don't know, some people might disagree in saying that it is a giant spider movie because that's definitely not the point of the movie at all. I mean, I hope I'm not spoiling anything for you here. I don't think it is, but the spiders are metaphorical, they're a storytelling device. There's a big argument to be made that they only exist in our main character's mind. Just to put that out there, this isn't like a horror spooky movie with giant spiders. However, the spider imagery in this movie, called Enemy, released in 2013, is some of the best I have seen in a contemporary movie of basically any genre, I think. And I mean, it also helps that it is the most recent movie on this list. The spiders are fantastic. There's tons of spider imagery throughout the whole movie. I chopped some of it up here to show you, and there's a lot more. It's not the reason to watch the movie necessarily. It's a great drama, and it's very well executed. It was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who of course also directed Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, and is also tackling the upcoming adaptation of Dune. It's great. It's very well done. The spiders are so well designed and just creepy and uncomfortable and very strange, and with the whole desaturated color palette of the movie as a whole, they just look great. It's pulled off really well, especially the giant one in the fog. It's fantastic. I kind of want a poster of that. Has somebody made a poster of that? Okay, the helicopters are not going away, so I'll wrap it up. Those are 5 of my favorite giant spider movies in a whole list just for you, with some clips so that if you want, you don't really have to even watch those movies. You can just watch this video again at least 3 times per person. I think that's a good rule of thumb. If you want to read some of my movie reviews and articles on movies in general, you can head on over to the website. There are links here probably, or you can find it through popular search engines like Google. That's it for now. Have a great day.